I just want to say before I actually start this entire video is that I really hope I've got a shit ton of time on my phone there so I can make a really long ass review, because why the fuck not? I thought we would get into some things that I have not yet discussed with you having to do with how I feel about film and why I'm such a harsh critic and things of that general nature. We're gonna do it just a little bit differently this time. I am gonna read you all my notes, or I'm not gonna read you all my notes. I'm gonna tell you about my notes that I wrote while watching Wonka, and so I'm gonna tell you my general reactions, and then I'm gonna tell you what I would have changed if we were to make this movie better. And then I'm also gonna tell you whatever the fuck else comes up. Then after I tell you about my general thoughts on the movie, all of them, I'm gonna tell you something I did after this movie that I've not done before lately. And I'll tell you about that after I tell you all about how I felt about this movie. Okay, I am silly because I did not know this movie was a musical from the trailer. Okay? I'm sorry, that was not made clear to me. I knew it was very, magical, very goofy. I think there is some dancing in the trailer, but like, I guess what I should say is I didn't know that it was going to be a musical to this magnitude. And lately, I've just not been liking musicals. For the most part, I don't actually like musicals that much, especially when they're a film. I'm sure I can think of some that I enjoy. Those will come up eventually, but yeah, this movie started with a fucking song, and I was like, are you serious? Because I didn't like it. I'm sorry. I did not like the opening song. I thought it was annoying. I could tell it was very cool. I could tell it was very grandiose. And I didn't hate it to start. I brag all the time on here about how it takes me 10 seconds to tell if I'm going to like a movie or not. Okay? 10 of them. Count them. Okay? Most people can't do that. I can. And yeah, I guess this movie just kind of put me in a mood. Honestly, when I saw this movie, I had just worked out and I was really hungry, and I was a little bit late to the movie, except not really, because luckily, if you're late, there are 30 whole goddamn minutes of commercials. So I didn't have time to buy snacks. So I was hungry. I had worked out, and I also just wasn't aware that it was a musical. So honestly, the entire time, the expression I was making, the way that I looked through most of this movie was like this, and I'm not exaggerating. I was doing this one a lot. This one I was doing a lot. Like I say, I'm a really tough critic, and we can get into that later, but I will say this, okay? There were a fair amount of other people in the theater with me, and they were enjoying themselves. So that's great. Um, I can't believe I didn't know this was a musical. I I guess I knew, but I'm like, I just it wasn't clear to me, sorry, in the trailer, honestly. Maybe I didn't see the extended trailer. I don't know. I also saw this in IMAX, okay? So the visual stimulation was like pretty extreme. Um that was actually cool. And the fact that I saw this in IMAX, actually, I think it made it a better experience for me, even though I didn't really like this movie. Because it was just it was very cool to watch it in IMAX. But anyway, I'm going to tell you a quote later from a video that I don't even know that this video was reviewing Wonka. He was just kind of reviewing the concept of the Wonka movie. But in that video, he reminded me that it's not an actor's fault, okay, if a movie is shit. It's not his or her fault. They really honestly have little to no part in the actual like story making. They have almost no part in this varies depending on who you are, depending on what kind of power you have in the industry. But like for the most part, if you're an actor, you get signed onto a project sometimes without like even necessarily knowing that much about it. So it's not Timothée Chalamet's fault. Does he fucking say Timothy or Timothée? Because the way that it's spelled in French, and I didn't know that he's fucking half French, is Timothée. But he's actually spelling it, as far as I'm aware, in the girl way. Because, like, there are a ton of names in French where, like, Renee, like, that's a male or female name. But to differentiate, you put on a second E if it's a female name. But it can be male or female. Anyway, it's not his fault that I had the feelings I have about this movie. And I did talk shit on him in another movie, and I'm sorry, Timothée. Ok, je suis désolé, je veux que tu peux me pardonner. Okay, so I hope we're cool, Timothée, you and I like him so much. He is so cute. I was not aware that he was so good at singing, and he's also so good at dancing. Like, holy shit, that blew my mind. I was very impressed with that. That was super cool. That was very fun to watch. But yeah, this movie was strange, and I wasn't super feeling it. And I was talking a moment ago about how it's not the actor's fault. Also, I'm a trained screenwriter. I think I've said that before in these videos in my YouTube career. It's been a long time now. And the thing is with screenwriting is that the screenwriter often knows what he or she is doing. Okay? I'm going to talk about directing in a second. This is something I really wanted to talk about, but I always, like, there's always one thing that I really want to say that I forget, so I'm going to try to remember to say that. Okay, but listen. Screenwriter writes a script. It's a great script. It's super cool, super fun, super awesome. It's airtight, let's say. Let's even say it's really good, okay? What happens is they'll sell it to a studio will opt to buy it, they'll have it, and then what happens frequently is the studio executives roll in and they're like, this is a great script, but like, can we make this character totally different than how you described her? Or can we change this character? Can we put these two characters and make them one? I'm saying the studio executives fuck things up. I don't know completely why this is, because I could tell there were some things in Wonka that probably weren't in the first draft of the script, but wow. Okay, let's just carry on. This was like a weird movie, honestly. It was like quite strange. So I just want to write down the thing that I really want to say later. Wonka gets off a fucking boat, no idea where he was, and he's like, "Oh, it's my dream to make chocolate. I'm gonna make chocolate," but he has no money, and that's what he's trying to do. But he like gets reeled into this essentially what's like a workhouse. But I was gonna say this looks like London, but it's like not London. It actually kind of looked like London, like when they used to have the. I'm using sign language right now. I guess I'm tired. In London, a long time ago, they had bridges that went across the River Thames. I think that's what it's called. And they had giant structures, and there were buildings there. It looks a little bit like that, kind of. But this was very clearly like not London. I don't even know if they named the city, but it was like this non-existent European city with shit tons of people with shit tons of different accents. Like Keegan-Michael Key was in this, and he had like an East Coast accent, and then there were tons of British folk, and then there were some more American. Timothy is obviously American, so it was like, where the fuck are we? They had this currency that's not a real currency. Obviously, we're in Fantasyland. I get it that it's a movie and it's a kids movie. Okay, when I think of Willy Wonka, the one from the 70s, obviously, I don't really think of it as a kids movie. Obviously, I watched it as a kid, but like I have watched it as an adult, and it's a great movie. And like because it's so old, I don't really think of it as a kids movie. But like this was very clearly a kids movie. And why don't we talk about how later we can talk about how condescending a lot of kids movies and shows are to kids. Okay, we'll talk about that later on. I guess I just wasn't in the mood for an extremely high energy, extremely high production value, extremely campy kids movie. Wasn't really feeling it. I have been wanting to see this movie though, really badly. Honestly, I thought the trailer was cool. Obviously, I like Timothy. It just looked like fun, you know? So I was like, okay, yeah, I want to see this. And I love the old one. Love it. The 70s one, it's great. So yeah, I was waiting to see this. And it was just like, he was like a wizard. Like they could do like legitimate like magic and shit. So I was like, what the fuck? It was pretty obvious in the original one, okay, that Wonka was just a real crafty guy. He wasn't magical, right? He just seemed magical. He was just so good at what he did that it seemed magical. But he was doing like straight up magic in this movie, which I was like, what the fuck? Oh, bruh, there was a CGI dog in this, and it pissed me off. I don't fucking want to see CGI dogs, like, ever. And I'm serious about that. Like, don't ever fucking show me a CGI dog for real. Get a real fucking dog on that shit. And if you're trying to get the dog to do something that it cannot do, then just, eliminate the dog in the movie. Like, I don't know why we don't have dogs and animals in movies anymore. Like, we barely do anymore. I know that's because they made new fucking laws and shit. Like, after I want to say the 80s, they made, like, more comprehensive laws. I guess it's also just like an issue having them on set and stuff, but like the dog was in this pretty briefly, but I'm like, why the fuck would you make it CGI? It looks like shit. Anyway, I have made this complaint before, okay? I'm gonna fucking make it again because I just know it. This is America. I am American. This movie was obviously put forth for British and American audiences, which is fine. Director was British. It's an American production company, Warner Brothers. Lead is American. So I am real sick of this British dry fucking humor. Okay, I'm gonna say it. I'm real sick of these British ass jokes being given to an American woman audience like me, okay? Because that shit's not funny. Alright? Quote me. I don't give a fuck. You got one whole laugh out of me this entire movie. And it's an hour and 56 minutes, which is kind of long for a kid's movie. But like, one. Uno. One. You got one laugh out of me. I know y'all do this like dry shit, but out here we moisturize, fam. Okay? So like, and this is just like, this is a problem for me because I see it so much. Maybe it's because Americans are trying to be more British. Maybe it's because Americans have had more British influence as of late. It's pissing me off though, and I can tell you that much. All right? It's making me angry. I know y'all British folks say you're when you're pissed, you're drunk. What the fuck? That's not what it means out here, okay? I'm just saying, like, I don't appreciate the British humor. I really don't. And like I said, I know this is a kid's movie, but it was not the fucking time for it, fam. Today was not the day for it. Oh, I forgot to look up that guy's name. Shit, I was gonna do that. I don't remember his name, but he was on, this has been bothering me and I haven't looked it up. I don't know if the Great British Baking Show is called the Great British Baking Show in England. Because I feel like they refer to it as Bake Off. Or is that a separate show entirely? I don't know. But on the Great British Baking Show, there was this bald guy with alopecia. We'll talk about that in a second. And he was in this movie. It was fun to see him. I like him. Okay, he's good. What I was going to say about alopecia is, like, so with alopecia, you lose all your hair, all your body hair, head hair, body hair, eyebrows, eyelashes, gone. Okay, but what's cool about that is actually that I feel like you can do more with it when it comes to hair and makeup, because believe it or not, it actually takes less time to apply, just glue on eyebrows and put on a wig than it does to actually style someone's hair and do their makeup. Anyway, so that was cool to see him in this movie. Bro, this movie was just so fucking all over the place. You know what? I was going to read this quote at the end, but I'm just going to read it right now. So, this guy, whose general review I watched, his name is Peter Saint. He's English though. He said this and I thought it was really cool, so I was like, I gotta include that in my review. Because I feel like I've said so much crazy shit that was actually in fact in the movie. But anyway, he said, "This would be a good opportunity to take a story like Wonka, examine some facets of it that maybe have not been looked at as closely before, and then produce something that is both a fun, enjoyable family film that also has some commentary to it, some relevant commentary to the current world that we actually live in, rather than this constant Disney-fied nostalgic narrative looking back at this tired cliche that no longer has any resemblance to any reality that we live in." And that's what Wonka was. Wonka was this absolutely insane, totally out there, fantastical movie. Wonka was like a wizard. He also made chocolates. He was also living in this non-existent world, like country city that was like rather confusing. He could also like make people fucking fly because he had this magical bean from some non-existent place. This movie was fucking all it was just all over the place. Okay. Okay, what I was gonna say was, before I had to say that quote, was there was like the chocolate cartel, and the reason that Wonka was having such a hard time selling his candy was because there were these three other, like, essentially monopolizing chocolate companies that were like right there, and one of them was that bald guy I was just talking about, and then one of them was this guy who's played by an actor named Patterson. I don't know if it's Patterson or Peterson. I assume it's Patterson Joseph, who played Mr. Slugworth. Fam. Let's say This movie took place 20 years before Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Okay? Entirely possible. Wonka 2023 had a character named Mr. Slugworth in it. Okay? Played by Patterson Joseph, who is a black man. Okay? Slugworth in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory was a white man. In this magical world where you can like obtain a bean that makes you fly if you ingest it, I guess you can also completely change your race over a period of 20 years, but I fucking digress. So that was annoying to me. That bothered me. What also fucking bothered me, I will tell you. Okay, I didn't like Hugh Grant as the Oompa Loompa. We didn't fucking meet the Oompa Loompa until after the midpoint in the movie. And that's generally seen as like a no-no. Like, you don't introduce a brand new fucking important character that late in the game, in the movie. It was very strange seeing him because they made him proportioned like a little person, but Hugh Grant is not in fact a little person. And they also legit made him like this tall. Okay, if y'all fucking know about dwarfism, even the smallest people who have the double recessive dwarf gene or have primordial dwarfism are not this fucking tall. Okay, he was like up to Timothée Chalamet's knee. What the shit? It was not making a lot of sense to me. Okay. Yeah, I don't like the over the top British fucking humor. I wonder if Paul King, that's the guy who directed this movie, I wonder if he also directed that Matilda movie that's on Netflix. I don't think I made it 3 whole minutes into that because that was so fucking obnoxious to me. I love the 1995 Matilda. That one's dope. I saw it as a kid, thanks be to God. But the fucking Netflix Matilda, I hated it. I hate this, like, just extremely high energy, like, extremely, like, loud, like, visually fucking suffocating, okay, like, mess, alright? I fucking went there, okay? On screens, where you see mess after mess after mess after mess. I couldn't even fucking make it through Bye Bye Birdie, okay? That's what we're talking about with me, alright? I don't like musicals, okay? I don't like them. This movie was okay, though. It was alright. I know that it's like, that I'm like, let's just fucking talk about why I'm such a hard critic, okay? Let's talk about it, you guys. So, I just fucked up my contact. I knew I was going to do that. I was born in the 90s, okay? I grew up in the 90s. I was not, in fact, around for the 80s, okay? Though they were quite relevant since I was young in the 90s, right? Anyway, like I said, was absolutely spoiled rotten when it came to movies, okay? Like, in my youth, okay? Rotten. Do you understand me? Fucking Matilda. Fucking Gremlins. Fucking Jumanji, alright? Hook. Spielberg was in his absolute fucking prime that in the 80s and 90s, alright? Just absolute fucking, like, bangers. Do you understand me? Absolute fucking cool as fuck movies that I was lucky enough to see as a wee lass, right? And that was super cool and super fun and super awesome, and I feel bad. for the kids today. Because of what kind of films they get, what kind of shows they get, the fact that they're on their fucking tablets all the time, all right? Listen, when I was a kid, back in my day, okay, you could watch the fucking television. If you wanted to watch something on a screen, you could watch the television or you could go to the movie theater, and that was it. You couldn't pick up a phone and watch a show on there. You couldn't fucking go to YouTube. You didn't have a tablet. If you had a computer, your computer probably had cool games on it, but YouTube didn't fucking come around until 2005, all right? So, yes, I saw a lot of movies. Fucking Iron Giant, that's another dope one that I grew up with, that I was a kid when it came out. Land Before Time. What else? I'm trying to think. Stand By Me. Just so many awesome, relatable, cool movies that were also likely entirely plausible. Like, I think a reason why I like E.T. so much is that it looks real. It looks like a real kid's interaction with a real alien. Like, you know, should we be so lucky to meet up with an extraterrestrial like E.T. and he finds a little kid to interact with and hang out with? Like, it fucking would have looked like E.T., okay? And what was really cool about E.T. Oh my gosh, we're gonna get to directing. Let's see if I ever fucking circle this shit back to Wonka. We'll see. What was really cool about E.T. was that the kids, the children, I think it was probably largely Henry Thomas, because let's be real here, he's the main character. The children helped write the script. And I am not exaggerating, okay? Obviously, the screenwriter, I don't remember her name, I'm so sorry, it's escaping my mind right now. She came in being like, okay, we need to write this scene. What do you guys want to say? And then the kids fucking, like, she had a general outline for what the scenes were going to be. And then the kids were like, oh, I want to say it like this. And that's why it's so fucking baller, dude. That's why it's so good. But, like, we fucking get Wonka. These kids get fucking Wonka, where you ingest a candy and they're like fucking drugs, dude. That was a little bit off-putting to me. The thing is, I'll tell you what I liked about this movie in a moment, and that's the fact that I did enjoy the production, okay? The sets were very cool, the costumes were very cool, I definitely enjoyed the dancing, I enjoyed the accents, even though they were fucking consistent, okay? There was a quick flashback to Wonka with his mother, who was English mama. And okay, he said that they lived on a goddamn boat, and it seemed like they just lived in this fucking boat together, and she made chocolate, and he was probably homeschooled because they seemed poor and like they needed to travel down a river for some reason. Mom was English, baby Wonka was American. Talking with an American accent. Okay? What the fuck? What in the fuck? Why is this shit so inconsistent and so confusing? You know what bothered me as a kid for like a long time? And I am not kidding you about this, okay? I used to watch Rescuers Down Under. That's another fucking dope-ass movie that I grew up with all the time. I watched that movie so frequently. It's still one of my absolute favorites. It holds a very special place in my heart. I didn't understand why there was this little boy living in rural Australia with his mother and an American accent. That was never explained. I was like, the gears of my little, 5-year-old mind were like, why is this happening? Okay, it's confusing to kids. Like, obviously, I don't know who the fuck that child was that voiced Cody, but like, obviously they had that kid ready to go, and they weren't going to make him do an Australian accent, and I guess they wanted to market it to Americans, and they probably were like, oh, Americans could never understand a kid with an Australian accent. But that actually would have been cool if they had hired an Australian actor, to play a little Australian boy. Okay, so the accents were inconsistent. The production value was through the roof. The special effects through the roof. Visual effects, just all the everything. It was such a freaking goddamn show. And this is what I say all the time now. I actually watch my own reviews, and I have now noticed a pattern. And the pattern is that sometimes I like the accents, and sometimes I like the production value and how it looks, but that's about it. That's usually what I say that I like, and that's true, okay? Because they have to make the movie itself look so insanely beautiful and over the top because the story isn't that good. Okay? Come at me, Paul King. It's true. It's true. Like, this story was not that good. I very much enjoy... Okay, let me say this before I talk about how annoyed I was with the story. I did very much enjoy Timothée as Wonka. I think that he did behave and move a lot like Gene Wilder. That was very cool and very fun to watch. All right? But, like, honestly, I think... Actually, you know what? I don't think... I know for a fact that Roald Dahl is fucking rolling in his grave over this shit. He would be like, what the fuck have you done to my story, you absolute lunatic? You made this shit pile? You made this, like, glittery shit pile out of my character? Like, oh, sorry, you're British. Like, what the fuck? Oh, my God. Okay. Listen. I didn't even get to this because I got on a giant fucking tangent. So, Wonka shows up, gets off a boat, goes into fucking magical, weird-ass London, but it's not actually London. He's poor, and he legitimately gets roped into, like, a human trafficking situation where he didn't read the fine print on what he thought was just an inn, and then they essentially, like, kidnapped him and were forcing him to work in the basement with other people. Like, does that sound like a kid's movie to you? Does it? Does it? Does it? I don't know what the fuck is going on with you British folk, but anyway, so that's what happened, and this was even worse. This was even more insane and crazy, and I knew that they just threw this in after, like, in the script writing process, that Wonka was illiterate. What the fuck? Dude, he is always, like, making weird ass puns and saying all this weird shit in the I read the book but I barely remember it in Willy Wonka 1971. Okay, he was always doing that shit. He even fucking speaks Latin at the end of the movie. Like, you tell me, my brother in Christ, that guy was illiterate at 28 or whatever the fuck? Miss me with that shit. Miss me with that absolute shit. Okay? And Wonka got to be friends with this little girl who lived with the people who enslaved him. Olivia Colman was one of the people. That was actually another one of the things that I liked, was I very much enjoyed her Cockney accent. That was a lot of fun. Great job, Olivia. Let's see if we can get to a world where I like things in movies other than the costumes, the color palette, and the accents. But anyway, she had this girl working at her inn, who was an orphan and black and called Noodle. Okay, let's talk about the Oompa Loompas in the book, in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. You know what? Let's talk about the fucking title of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Listen, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory came out in 1971. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory came out in 2005. Wonka came out in 2023. But the book that came out before the fucking movie is called Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. The reason they changed it to Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory was because apparently Charlie is some kind of term for a white man that black folks say or said, that was relevant in 1971. Okay, so that's why it's called Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, but no one ever calls it Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Everyone just calls it Willy Wonka. Anyway, we're gonna fucking talk about the Oompa Loompas that were pygmies, all right, in the book, and they were even drawn that way. Okay, so I get it that's a touchy subject, and I think that it was actually done quite well. I think it was done better in 1971. I think that I think that the racial aspect of the Oompa Loompas, okay, were better dealt with in that movie than the racial aspect of this movie, and we're going to talk about that. So they were in fact depicted as pygmies in the book. Okay? And yeah, that's racist. All right, let's be real here. This guy, this real crafty candy maker guy has African slaves working for him. Yeah, problematic for sure. It's also a kid's book. I don't remember when that book was published, but I imagine it was in the 40s or the 50s. Okay? The movie, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, made them orange-skinned and green-haired and little people, right? But they were these, magical creatures that weren't human, right? But they were very human-like. Okay? So that's a thing. And they didn't say pygmy. I don't think you're supposed to call them pygmy. I looked it up one time, but it's something almost identical to pygmy. But they didn't say that word in the 1971 version. Okay, I did not like that there was in fact I didn't. It wasn't that I didn't like that there was a young black girl in this movie. I didn't like that she was called Noodle. They were really like, oh, we need diversity. Let's get some black folk in this movie. And we'll make them the villain and the little girl and the another person in the workhouse. The fuck? Okay, yeah, so the little girl who's like 12 is called Noodle. And when I saw that, I was like, are you kidding me right now? But no, they were not in fact kidding me. What I did like about her, I'm not going to say anything bad about her because there's no fault of hers. I love that she had her natural hair throughout the movie. That was very cool. They clearly got some competent stylists, and she had her natural hair out during the movie. And like I said, Slugworth was black in Wonka, because apparently you can swap your race over a period of like 20 years in this movie. In this weird ass fucking land where Wonka lives with money called sovereigns. But anyway, this is another reason, like, listen to how fucking stupid this is. So poor little darling Noodle didn't know who her parents were, was teaching him to read, wanted to find her parents or whatever. Well, it turned out that Slugworth was actually her uncle, and at one fucking point, and so they were talking about that, they were showing that in the third act of the movie. It showed Slugworth obtaining this little baby Noodle. Her name was actually Noodle. Like, really, that's what they called her. And I get it that it was supposed to be goofy and silly, but, like, I just thought that was, like, really in poor taste. It showed him obtaining her. It showed her mother, like, going to him because she knew he was wealthy and his brother had died. And he was like, oh, yeah, I'll take care of her. And then he fucking threw her down a well. Does that sound like a kid's movie? Does it? Obviously she survived because the Olivia Colman character found her, but like, I don't appreciate that. Let's not depict that happening to black children. Like, thanks. And then they fucking ruined the song. I actually really like that song. I was gonna sing it, but now I've fucking like ruined my voice from yelling at you. Come with me and you'll be in a world of pure imagination. That one. Okay. They ruined that song because they had Noodle at the end of the movie being reunited with her mom. And that was the song that Wonka was singing. It was supposed to be like this tearjerker moment, but I was like, what in the fuck? What in the actual fuck, dude? Listen. I think that it was originally intended, or maybe it ought to have been originally intended, for Wonka to have had a romantic relationship with someone of his similar age in the character of Noodle. I'm serious about this. I think that was the original intention, and I think that somewhere in there it got mixed up. I just didn't really appreciate. I know that I'm being like oversensitive here, whatever the fuck, but like, I thought it was a little weird that Noodle was like teaching Wonka to read and also like going to the zoo with him to steal a giraffe, something from a giraffe, and then also he gave her a balloon ride or whatever the fuck. Like, they were clearly just supposed to be like friends having a sweet little relationship, but it would have been a lot more appropriate for it to have been a woman, a grown woman, for that character to have been a woman. What it should have been was, it should have been Olivia Colman's character's daughter. Like, and then, but she was all like, so she and her mom like butted heads, and the daughter was nothing like her mom, and she didn't agree with any of the stuff that she was doing with the workhouse in the basement, and the daughter wanted to break free of that cycle, They should have just fucking eliminated the whole Wonka is illiterate horseshit plot line anyway, and like, maybe had a heteronormative relationship in the movie. It's fucking called heteronormative for a reason, because it's normal. Fam, I miss romance in movies. I really do. And it doesn't even have to be anything fucking crazy. Like, we could have gotten a fucking satisfying kiss during this movie had Noodle been a different character entirely. Right? And I don't think that the average person would have picked up on that, but I'm not the average person, like I fucking said. Like I have fucking said. Is that like, this is why I'm so hard to please. Because I know how to write a script, first of all. I know the process of getting a script created into a movie, and how much of a fucking shit show it is. And then, like, on top of that, like I said, I was spoiled absolutely rotten by 70s, 80s, and 90s movies, okay? And even oddies movies. Spoiled fucking rotten. And now we get this weird ass fucking movie. Also, I'm gonna say this, okay? I don't appreciate kids' movies making it look like a character or characters have died. Like, it makes them look like they actually died. At one point at the end of this movie, Wonka and Noodle were getting fucking drowned in chocolate for real by the chocolate, what is it fucking called? The chocolate cartel, okay? and then it looked like they had actually drowned for like a moment there, and then of course they miraculously got saved and everything was fine. But like, I don't want kids to see that. That's like actually frightening. And they fucking did that in Elemental too. They were like, oh, looks like this one character died. Just kidding, he's fine. Don't be messing with kids' minds like that. Like, don't do it. Okay. I was gonna say earlier that I was like, I really want to say this, and I always forget to say this. When it comes to directing, I need water, first of all. When it comes to directing, sometimes you actually have to improvise, okay? In the script, it might say one thing, but once you actually start doing it, or even once you do a table read, it may not work as well. So what I mean by improvising is if an actor can't do something physically, or they've done the script and it's just not quite looking right, you got to change it, like right then and there, you know? And you're often not prepared, and it's often just very difficult to do that, right? At one point in Godzilla -1, I didn't give this criticism when I did the movie, when I did the video review of it. But at one point in Godzilla -1, the main character, I forgot his name, sorry. He finds the gal that he was parenting a child with, and it was sort of hinted at that they were romantic, but not really. But also, they probably wouldn't do this in a Japanese movie because they're not like this. But like, at one point, it was supposed to be like this big dramatic reunion, and like the guy was like just all upset and like trying to cry, but he like very clearly like couldn't cry or like have very much of an emotional reaction. But it should have just been, they should have just been like, okay, just be happy. Just be happy to see each other. Don't try to cry. Just be happy. I was practicing a scene for my movie that I'm writing, and I wanted to go into this room, see this person, and cry. And I tried it, and I was like, okay, I'm obviously not going to be able to do it. So I was like, okay, I'm going to change my reaction to something else that makes sense. And that was actually better. The change that I made was actually better than my original idea. Okay? So like, I don't want like a child. Also, I don't appreciate this. Okay, I'm sorry. But at the end, there was like this huge reveal where like Willy Wonka and the team found Noodle's mother, and they got reunited, and that was when we heard the song "Come with Me and You'll Be." They're playing that song when separated mother and child are reuniting. Stop. Sit down. I get so intense during these vids that he's like, wow, why don't we go outside? Because he knows that's what I need when I get all intense. Yeah. So I don't appreciate that. I don't appreciate them being like, oh, let's reunite these estranged due to poverty mom and daughter. Like, I don't think that's imagery you should be putting in kids' minds, because some kids are adopted, right? Or some kids are estranged from their parents for whatever reason, and I just don't really think it's like always in everyone's best interest. It's also not always possible for them to reunite, and that's what always happens in movies, and I think it's fucked up, point blank. So this movie was a really great attempt at a cool movie, but like, I just didn't like it. It's just not my type of movie, okay? I like Nightmare Before Christmas. That's a musical, isn't it? You know, I think it's a little bit too long. Obviously, you guys know that I love Newsies. That's a musical. It's also a little too long. I'm trying to think of other musicals I like. Is Team America. Team America, I would say, is a musical. But, like, that's just a really goofy movie, like, overall. I actually haven't seen a Goofy movie in a really long time. I think that might be a musical. I like these, like, older Disney movies that have songs in them. They're fun. I don't love the newer ones that have songs in them. I don't know. I'm just not really. I like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, obviously. That one's a musical. But people really only remember like 2 songs from that movie. And the songs are hold on. I'm going to sing them for y'all cuz I love you so much. I mean, I know all the songs obviously, but the only songs people remember are I got a golden ticket, I got a golden twinkle in my eye. And then we've got one that I fucking sang earlier. Come with me and you'll be. That's a good one. Bro, that one bit in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory when they're going through that tunnel, that part's so scary. And Wonka's singing. What does he sing? But it's not like a song. It's like, there's no way that we're knowing which way that we're rowing. Is it raining? Is it snowing? Is a hurricane blowing? That part's scary. That part is really scary. I remember seeing that for the first time when I was a kid, and I was frightened. Okay? But that was goofy. That was it was scary, it was weird, it was creepy, and then it stopped. It was very brief, right? But like throwing a kid down a well, that's not really scary, like all in good fun. That's scary and like that's not something you want to be showing kids. Like, bro, I'm so bummed because like this would have been such a good opportunity to do like just the teeniest tiniest bit of romance, honestly. Obviously, I didn't see this movie because I think Timothée Chalamet's ugly, okay? He is so cute, and I was wanting to say this, so I'm so glad I remembered. He's dating a Kardashian, last I heard. Excuse me, he's dating a Kardashian, last I heard. Sweet thing, I don't know who the fuck it is, because I don't know their names, but honey, please don't let her drive. Just don't ever get in a car with her when she's driving. Like, don't do it. Okay. Is there anything else I want to say? Okay, well, I was going to say this a minute ago. A while ago. Like an hour ago. I think that kids' shows and kids' movies now, today, are so very condescending to children. I really do. Okay, well, so in the Montessori like way of raising children, they advise for you to show kids images of real things only. Obviously, you can't control every single fucking image that they see, but show them more realistic things until like I think age 5 to 7. And then because like the thinking is that their brain is really not ready to see like really fantastical, completely unreal things, because you can't really process it that well as a very young child. Like, but then they say, like, yeah, you can show them fantasy stuff when they're, 5 to 7, because at that point they're able to understand, okay, these things are real and these things are fantasy, right? When I was a kid, you guys, this is true, okay? I'll tell you 2 things that are true about me. When I was a kid, I saw My Neighbor Totoro and I saw Neverending Story. And I was young enough when I saw My Neighbor Totoro. So in the song, and it's like an ongoing theme in the movie, is like, you can only see Totoro if you're a kid. Like, Totoro will only reveal himself to you if you're the right kid, and then you can see him. And adults can't see him. You only see him when he's... Shit, I messed it up. You only see him when you're very young. A magical adventure waiting for you. He's waiting for you. Okay, I thought that I could see Totoro. I was like, man, like, I hope I see him. I hope a Totoro finds me. Like, for real. That was a cartoon, okay? That was a hand-drawn cartoon. Obviously, I could I could differentiate reality from fiction, but I was like, oh man, I really hope I see a Totoro, I was like, maybe they're real. Okay, Neverending Story. I was also very young when I saw that for the first time. There is Rockbiter, and Rockbiter eats I think he calls them quartz, the white quartz rocks. I thought you could eat rocks. I thought that, like, rocks were edible. I thought that white rocks were edible because I watched Neverending Story, okay? So, hopefully, there aren't any kids who watch this movie and think that, like, chocolate cartels are real, where they're gonna, like, try to drown you in chocolate if you're trying to sell chocolate and they don't want you to. Yeah, I think that a lot of movies and shows are condescending to kids because they're not meeting kids where they're at. Like, okay, I think that what happens is that directors and studios do what they want to do. They want to make this kooky ass, weird ass Willy Wonka story, origin story, but it's also a kids movie, okay? And there are some very adult themes in the first Willy Wonka, right? And that movie came out in the 70s, okay? And 70s were like just prime time for film. But I'm saying, like, when you have a talented artist, when you have talented artists, plural, who are also adults, and you have almost just totally expendable money to make a project, and you want to go hard with it, and you do go hard with it, like, you get something that's made by adults for kids, but by adults. And it just doesn't really work in my mind. Honestly, let me see if I can find this. Okay. Have you guys seen those images that AI creates? Like, someone will be like, can you please make me an image of a happy bunny in a field? And the AI makes the image of the happy bunny in a field. And they're like, no, make it happier. And it gets increasingly more and more and more insane when they demand to make it the happiest bunny in the galaxy, But and AI is like more of a thing though now. But this movie looked like it was an AI version of a Roald Dahl story, but they made sure to say, make it look like a book that was made into a movie that was then made into a musical movie. And this is the fucking version we got. I wish I was kidding, but I'm ain't. Okay, I almost forgot. We're almost done with this vid. But I will say this, and I said this before, but the audience that I went with was enjoying themselves. They were laughing at the jokes. I think they were having a good time. Okay? So, like I said, I'm not the average person. I am very hard to please. It is very difficult to make a movie that I like. Okay, because my standards, normal people's standards are like here, here, they're right here. Mine are up here. Okay, this is baseline for most people. I would even argue that like maybe this is baseline. This is like all the way at the bottom here. This is like zero taste, zero effort, trash, but there's a market for that. And then like normal people are only like that much above the very bottom. In my opinion, okay? And my standards are all the way up here. So like I said, I'm hard to please. What I did at the end of this movie that I have not done in quite a while was I actually asked someone who I saw it with what he thought of it. Okay? He said that he liked it. He said it wasn't as good as Willy Wonka, obviously. And I was like, obviously. But it was good and he liked it. And I was like, yeah, not me. Let's see if I have anything else to say. They should have casted real little people. I don't think I actually specifically said those words earlier, but would have been cool if they had casted real little people. Or, I don't know, maybe done away with the Oompa Loompa subplot altogether. Okay, another thing this movie did that I liked was they had a little like follow-up during the credits. They were like, oh, here's some more info on the characters after they left the workhouse. So I was like, cool. And I like it when they do that in the credits. It's fun. Yeah, okay. I'll just say one more thing. This is seriously the last thing I'm gonna fucking say. I wish that we, like I said, that Noodle could have been a totally different person, could have been an actual woman character, and they would have had to just change things up a little bit in their dynamic and obviously eliminated the him being illiterate horse shit. I love like on-screen kisses. Like, call me old-fashioned, but I do. I always bring up the same exact movies as examples, so I made an effort to think of one that I haven't brought up as an example. There's a really fucking awesome, amazing, beautiful, satisfying kiss in Somewhere in Time. Okay, that's a great movie, and if you know what kiss I'm talking about, hit like. But also, if you can think of movies with really satisfying kisses, like, give them to me in the comments, please. Cause if Timothée Chalamet isn't kissing me, and he's kissing a Kardashian, like, the least Paul King could have done was, like, have him kiss some other beautiful woman, and I could have enjoyed that. Do better next time.